Cecilia smiled as she ate her jollof rice during lunch. The tea room was quiet, until her manager stormed in. His words made her world spin. And that was the beginning of her story. A story that started far away in Lagos City. There lived a beautiful pregnant woman named Mary. She owned a small tailoring shop where she stitched dreams into dresses for her customers. Her phone rang. She smiled when she saw her husband's name. But when she picked it, her smile vanished. Her husband was gone. A ghastly motor accident on 3rd Mainland Bridge. His delivery bike somersaulted. Mary's scream tore through the street. She rolled on the bare ground. Neighbors gathered, trying to hold her. That night, with swollen eyes and a broken heart, her body pushed through the pain, and she gave birth to a baby girl. She named her Cecilia. Cecilia grew like a bright flower in the middle of sorrow. Every morning, her mother will drop Cecilia in school before she passes to her shop. After school, she would sit quietly in her mother's shop, watching the sewing machine hum. Across the street was Mama Cynthia's bukka. The smell of jollof rice always filled the air. Cecilia loved Mama Cynthia's jollof rice. She was always excited to present her plate to be served. In the children's choir, her voice rose like morning bells. Every Saturday evening she joined the other kids for choir rehearsals, and she would run happily to greet the Reverend sisters, hugging them tightly. She admired them deeply. She would kneel at the altar alone, whispering, "One day I will be a Reverend sister." Years later, as Mary bent down to measure a woman's waist, she suddenly clutched her chest. Her face tightened. Then, before anyone could catch her, Mary collapsed on the floor. The customer screamed and neighbors ran in. They splashed water over her still body, but Mary's eyes had already closed forever. When Cecilia was told, her cries filled the compound. That night, she went to the fresh grave where they had laid her mother. She sat there, hugging the cold earth. She fell asleep on the grave, hopeless and helpless, until daybreak. Mama Cynthia, the woman who owned the bukka across the street, took her in. "You are my daughter now." Cecilia, broken but grateful, began to live with her. Every day, she worked in the bukka, washing plates, fanning the firewood stove, and serving customers with a smile on her face. She dropped out of school after her mother's death. One afternoon, she was washing a big bowl of fresh tomatoes behind the shop. Then Mama Cynthia walked in. Her face was serious. "Cecilia," she said slowly, "I have something to ask you. I want you to sleep with my husband and get pregnant. When the baby is born, we will take the child from you. In return, we will send you to university. You will have a better life." The words felt like knives cutting into Cecilia's chest. She dropped the tomato she was holding. Her eyes widened. "No, Ma," she gasped, falling to her knees. Tears poured down her cheeks. "I can't do it, please." But Mama Cynthia stood tall, watching her. Her expression was unreadable. "You'll have to leave my house," Mama Cynthia had said coldly. "I can't help you again." The rain poured down heavily. Cecilia stood outside Mama Cynthia's house, her clothes already soaked through. Tears mixed with the rain on her cheeks as she wrapped her arms around herself. She stepped into the street, each foot sinking into puddles. She had nowhere to go. She sat by the roadside, shivering. Then, headlights appeared. A car slowed down. It was one of the Reverend sisters from the church. She stopped the car, opened the door, and rushed out with an umbrella. Without hesitation, she wrapped Cecilia in her arms, shielding her from the rain. That was the turning point. The Reverend sisters took her in. They gave her food, clothes, and a place to sleep. They sent her back to school, paying her fees through scholarship. Years later, the day came she graduated from the Department of Nursing Science, University of Lagos. Cecilia held a white envelope in her trembling hands. She had just written her professional exams to practice in the UK. She shut her eyes, whispered a prayer at heart, then tore it open slowly. Her eyes scanned the page. She had passed. A loud laugh of joy broke out of her lips. She jumped up, tears running down her face. Every whispered prayer at her mother's grave, every tear shed in pain, it had all led here. Soon, Cecilia left Nigeria for London. At the London hospital, Cecilia shone. She worked long hours, always with a smile. Patients loved her not just for her skill, but because she held their hands when they were scared, listened when they cried, and made them feel seen. Her colleagues hated her because she was black. The whispers and conspiracy began. Tiny flames of jealousy grew into plots. Then one afternoon the worst happened. Cecilia smiled as she ate her jollof rice during lunch. The tea room was quiet, until her manager stormed in. His words made her world spin. "Cecilia, see me in my office after lunch," he said again, his tone cold and firm. "Cecilia, we're letting you go. There have been complaints. Serious ones. About negligence. About patients being mishandled," he said sharply. Cecilia felt her knees weaken. Memories of her mother's grave, of Mama Cynthia's harsh words, of the rain-soaked night, all rushed back. 3 days after, a senior doctor who had long admired Cecilia did some investigations. She presented clear records of Cecilia's care, testimonies from patients who adored her, proof of her compassion and professionalism to her manager. Not only was Cecilia cleared, she was promoted. She would now lead her own team, with more responsibility and higher recognition. Cecilia stood tall. A calm smile spread across her face. Life had tested her again and again: death, loss, rejection, lies. But each time, she rose stronger. From the little girl crying at her mother's grave, to the young woman kneeling in the rain, to the nurse standing tall in London, Cecilia had overcome. And now, with gratitude swelling in her heart, she was ready for whatever came next. From the streets of Lagos to the halls of a London hospital, her story reminds us that no act of kindness goes unnoticed, no prayer is unheard, and no challenge is too great when you hold on to courage and integrity. In life, the storms may come, but those who persevere always rise stronger. If you were inspired by Cecilia's story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more emotional and powerful African stories every week.